The evil that has stained the reputation of Ukraine was known: corruption. And now evidence has come from the highest in that unfortunate country. President Volodymyr Zelensky has sacked his defense minister for sordid corruption. The true tragedy is that while ordinary Ukrainians are dying on the battlefield for their country, the greedy, treacherous elite is stealing the wealth meant to be spent on the warriors. You see, Ukraine has a big corruption problem. The country battling invading Russian forces is also one of the most corrupt countries in Europe. Widespread corruption has deep roots in Ukraine, even long before the Russian troops invaded the country. And this problem has translated into the war on the ground and could be one of the reasons why Ukraine's much-touted counteroffensive has been a flop show. This is also why Ukraine is now scrambling to save face, especially in front of the very generous West that has flooded Ukraine with weapons and money. And tonight we delve deep into this real problem that Ukraine is facing and also what it could mean for the war. Did you know that during his campaign for presidency, Volodymyr Zelensky pledged to tackle Ukraine's corruption problem? And then on the 20th of May 2019, when Zelensky won the presidency, he stated that his election victory proved Ukrainians were tired of politicians who over decades created opportunities to steal, bribe and loot. So did Zelensky really succeed in eradicating these opportunities to loot, quote unquote? Let's find the answer in the numbers. I'll break them down for you one by one. In the year 2020, Ukraine ranked 117th out of 180 countries as far as corruption is concerned. And now fast forward to 2021, Corruption Perceptions Index placing Ukraine at the 122nd rank. In the year 2022, Ukraine ranked 116th in the same index. But here's where it gets concerning. Reports indicating that Ukraine holds the unfortunate title of being the second most corrupt nation in Europe, just behind Russia. And even the Ukrainian public recognizes the gravity of the situation. A staggering 77% of the Ukrainians believe that corruption stands as the biggest problem that their country is facing. And now that you've seen the numbers, let's just dig deeper into the issue itself. The country may be at war, but it's far from immune as far as the menace of corruption is concerned. Ever since Ukraine declared its independence from the Soviet Union, it has been in an ongoing battle against this pervasive issue. It has battled to free itself from the influence of Russian oligarchs and replace that with a democratic political system. But you see, it's not for a lack of trying. The authorities in Kiev have taken several steps. And in the latest, and the reason why we are covering this story tonight is, Volodymyr Zelensky has fired his defense minister, Alexei Reznikov, citing the need for, quote-unquote, new approaches as the war with Russia enters its 19th month. And the news of Reznikov's removal coming at a very crucial juncture in this war. It comes as Kiev's troops continue their counteroffensive operations. Reznikov had been at the helm of the military since November 2021, having previously served in other government roles like Deputy Prime Minister. And this is a major shake-up for the war-torn country. So why did Zelensky take such a big step? And the answer is corruption. Reznikov's removal coming in the wake of a number of corruption scandals, especially scandals involving Ukraine's defense ministry. At the start of the year, Zelensky fired a slew of senior officials. They were fired over a scandal linked to procurement of wartime supplies. And then in August, Zelensky dismissed all officials in charge of regional military recruitment centers. The decision came amid numerous criminal proceedings that are ongoing. Now remember, while Reznikov has not been implicated in any of these scandals, they are damaging to him just by association. And then on Saturday, one of Ukraine's most powerful oligarchs and a key Zelensky supporter, Ihor Kolomoisky, was arrested as part of a fraud investigation. But it's not just the government that is corrupt. Earlier this year, Ukrainian prosecutors detained the head of the country's Supreme Court. He was detained for allegedly taking a $2.7 million bribe. And his arrest came days after investigators exposed large-scale corruption at the court. You see, corruption is entrenched deep into Ukrainian government, unfortunately. It's present at the highest levels, and the Anti-Corruption Bureau is on an overdrive to weed out the major wartime corruption. But right now, at this very moment, stopping corruption is also tied to the country's survival as they fight against Russia. Ukraine's relationship with its allies and donors hanging in the balance, teetering on the edge. And as Ukraine's top anti-graft cop put it, I'm quoting, corruption is no longer seen as just a crime, but as a crime against national security. That was a quote by Semen Kryvonos, Ukraine's head of National Anti-Corruption Bureau. And this investigative body is, in fact, at the forefront of a battle that Zelensky says is key to winning this war. It has taken on vital significance, with Kiev hoping that Western donors will continue sending billions of dollars in aid to Ukraine. And another point to note here is this. Ukraine's counteroffensive, a campaign to remove Russian troops, has been lackluster to say the least. It was launched in June, but so far Kiev's troops have sustained heavy losses, both in personnel as well as hardware. And this offensive has failed to yield any tangible results. And not just that, dozens of Western-supplied tanks, armored vehicles, thousands of servicemen have been lost. If Reznikov had been successful in the counteroffensive, would Zelensky have removed him, is the question that arises. Look, Ukraine's Western backers have poured a staggering $100 billion worth of weapons into Kiev since the war started. This includes a whopping $50 billion in aid from the US alone. Rooting out corruption is not just a choice, it's an absolute necessity for Kiev, because it holds the key to Ukraine achieving its long-cherished dream, membership in the European Union and joining the ranks of the US-led NATO alliance. So Ukraine has kicked off its efforts into high gear. Remember, Russian President Vladimir Putin has often pointed towards corruption in Ukraine to justify Moscow's invasion. Even the United States and European allies have turned up the pressure on Ukraine to clean up its act. How long that transformation takes for Ukraine is the immediate question, and that is something we will have to keep a close eye on. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the updates on the move.